Lecture 15, Like a Rolling Stone. After the trials of World War II, many people settled down, started traditional families, bought homes in new suburban subdivisions, and defined the American dream through conformity, convention, and community. The honeymooners. Every stone has two sides, and a counterculture soon emerged. A rolling stone gathers no moth. Rock and roll thrives on recklessness, on rebellious spirits breaking free from the familiar, uncertain of where they're headed. Few capture this edge better than Bob Dylan, who in 1965 sang, "How does it feel to be on your own, with no direction home, a complete unknown, like a rolling stone?" In this lecture, we explore this restless new world during its heyday from the 1950s through the 1980s, where rock's troubadours became its seekers and street corner philosophers, charting the dreams, disillusionment, and defiance of generations. Before this new rebellious genre had a name, its heartbeat was pulsing in the jump blues and rhythm-driven swing music in the 1940s. Band leaders like Louis Jordan, Jackie Brenston, and Ike Turner paired big band jazz to smaller, tighter ensembles, centering catchy saxophone riffs, sly humor, and driving backbeat. Jordan's 1946 hit, Caledonia, with its shouted vocals, boogie-woogie piano, and biting solos, pointed straight toward the coming rock revolution. In 1950, Brenston and Turner's Rocket 88 added electric guitar, giving it a raw, dance floor swagger that would soon define rock and roll. We'll listen to Louis Jordan's Caledonia, which has been covered by Bill Haley and his Comets, James Brown, and Willie Nelson and Wynton Marsalis. We'll listen to the original, linked below. The fuse ignited in the mid-50s when a fresh wave of performers took jump blues as a foundation and added showmanship, speed, and teenage arrogance. Chuck Berry fused country twang with guitar riffs and wrote witty, rapid-fire lyrics about cars, girls, and the new culture. Little Richard attacked the piano with abandoned energy, his falsetto and flamboyant style captivating fans. Elvis Presley brought a mix of gospel, blues, and rockabilly to an international audience, while Fats Domino's rolling piano and warm vocals anchored rock and roll in New Orleans soul. Together, they pioneered rock and roll, transforming regional sounds into a worldwide phenomenon. We'll listen to Chuck Berry's 1956 hit, Roll Over Beethoven, which blends country and blues with his signature guitar style. Berry playfully makes a statement about the new generation's music, capturing the rebellious spirit of teenagers in the 1950s, embracing rock and moving away from their parents' cultural sensibilities. Link below. Early rock and roll wasn't without tragedy. On February 3rd, 1959, called The Day the Music Died, a small plane crash in Iowa claimed the lives of three rock pioneers, Buddy Holly, Ritchie Valens, and J.P. Big Bopper Richardson. Just as this generation was finding its voice, the loss of three young stars shocked fans and underscored how brief and fragile life might be in this new era. 17-year-old Ritchie Valens' 1958 hit, La Bamba, adapted a traditional Mexican folk song to the new aesthetic. The Spanish lyrics over driving guitar showcased rock's ability to cross cultural boundaries and meld diverse musical traditions into the mainstream. And I have a link below for that. Buddy Holly's innovative songwriting and distinctive sound became a blueprint for the next generation of rock and roll stars across the Atlantic, as the British invasion bands reshaped music in the 1960s. The Beatles, the Rolling Stones, The Who, and other British groups blended American rock and roll with new sensibilities, styles, and attitudes. Their music not only dominated charts, but also sparked a cultural revolution and reshaped youth identity and popular culture worldwide. Early Beatles songs such as I Want to Hold Your Hand and Please Please Me offered audiences catchy phrases and youthful excitement. The Rolling Stones' 1965 song, I Can't Get No Satisfaction, is an exemplary British invasion anthem, with gritty guitar riffs, raw vocals, and rebellious lyrics that contrasted to the Beatles' more polished pop. This song cemented the Stones' image as the bad boys of the British invasion, influencing generations of rock musicians to come. And we'll listen to the Rolling Stones singing their 1965 song, I Can't Get No Satisfaction, on The Ed Sullivan Show. As British bands conquered the airwaves, rock music began to transform, a shift clearly audible in the evolving albums of the Beatles. Rock changed from its rebel without a cause identity into a powerful voice for social change, becoming a soundtrack for countercultural movements and a playground for experimental music. From psychedelic sounds to folk rock protests, rock became inseparable from the political and cultural upheavals of the 1960s and 70s, reflecting hopes, fears, and frustrations of young baby boomers demanding change. Through songs like their 1966 Tomorrow Never Knows, which experimented with studio effects, tape loops, and hypnotic sounds, the 1968 song Helter Skelter, with its hard rock riffs, pounding drums, and distorted textures, Blackbird, an acoustic metaphor for the civil rights movement, and Mother Nature's Son, aiming to raise environmental consciousness. The Beatles as a band represented a foundation that would more fully be realized after their breakup. We'll listen to Tomorrow Never Knows, the Beatles' psychedelic interpretation of the Tibetan Book of Dead, expressing John Lennon's experience of ego dissolution and spiritual transcendence. Link below. As rock music expanded its sound and social reach, it also spread across diverse geographies, each region adding flavor and shaped the new genre's development. From gritty Chicago clubs to New Orleans' soulful streets and London's rebellious clubs, rock's branches grew worldwide. Few artists capture the restless spirit of the music better than Bob Dylan, whose 1965 anthem, Like a Rolling Stone, reflects the genre's personal and social feeling of dislocation. And we'll listen to Bob Dylan's Like a Rolling Stone, 1965. The 1970s saw rock music diversify and mature, branching into many styles that reflected the decade's complexities. From polished arena rock bands like Queen, Heart, Fleetwood Mac, and Journey, to punk pioneers like the Ramones and the Runaways. The decade was defined by grandiosity and rebellion. Prog rock pushed the borders of musical complexity, and disco and funk pushed rock from the charts. Singer-songwriters used rock to explore personal and political themes, making the 1970s pivotal for innovation and fragmentation in rock's ongoing history. We've got two listenings for this decade. Listen to Led Zeppelin's 1970 song, Stairway to Heaven, which blends folk, hard rock, and mysticism into an epic storytelling journey. And we'll listen to Heart's 1977 song, Barracuda, with Nancy Wilson's driving guitar riffs and Ann Wilson's powerful vocals. Disco and funk music did not kill rock, but rather stimulated the 1980s into a period of transformation. New wave groups like Blondie, Talking Heads, The Cure, and Depeche Mode reshaped punk music into a more radio-friendly genre. With the explosion of MTV and synth pop, rock faced new challenges in mainstream attention. Artists like Bruce Springsteen and Pat Benatar and Huey Lewis and the News combined radio-friendly anthems with catchy hooks, with a deep love for the 1950s era of rock and roll. Meanwhile, flamboyant and theatrical glam brands such as Motley Crue, Poison, Guns N' Roses, Lita Ford, and Bon Jovi blended rock with softer pop sensibilities, dominating MTV and mainstream radio toward the end of the decade. We'll listen to Blondie's 1980 song, Call Me, which brought together the new wave singing and electric guitar with electric disco backbeat. And we'll listen to Poison's 1988 hit, Every Rose Has Its Thorn, a classic power ballad, known for its heartbeat-felt lyrics and acoustic texture. The 1980s fascination with 1950s rock and roll, and the 1990s revival of 1970s punk and grunge reflect the postmodern tendency in rock music, where each era since the 1950s reinterprets and reinvents past styles. This cycle has shaped youth culture, simultaneously dividing generations from one another and conserving a type of rebellious counterculture, counter-tradition. Rock and roll is a living, breathing force, constantly evolving, absorbing social revolutions, and reflecting youth restlessness as an ideal to be expressed musically in changing times. From jump blues and rockabilly to the British invasion and experimentation of the 1960s, and through the diverse direction of the 1970s and the transformations of the 1980s, each decade brought new voices, styles, and messages. As rock and roll moved from local airways to the global stage, its impact on society became undeniable. Rock inspires musicians and audiences and pushes boundaries and challenges norms. Rock music represents modern people's restless spirit and continues to roll forward, challenging the status quo rather than bridging generations.